redwood forest, and as you can tell, there's a lot of things that I need to be doing here. So sure enough, this will involve a lot of activities for me, physical activities and mental activities, how I'm gonna clean this up and get ready for the winter. And there's a lot of things here that I wasn't able to harvest, a lot of things that got frozen like this after the snowstorm. Aside from healthy eating, activity is probably the one you're familiar with when we talk about wellness. So if we look at the big picture of activity, activity involves physical and mental movement and development. So the mind or the brain and the body are closely interrelated when it comes to wellness and when it comes to activity. So a fit mind promotes healthy body and a fit body promotes healthy mind. So in other words, you get the best performance of your mind if you regularly exercise your body, and you get the best performance of your body when you exercise your mind. So really, it's as simple as that. But yes, we said it's simple, but in reality, sometimes we don't really practice it in our daily life. I decided to continue the talk here since the dog outside is too noisy and all you can hear is the barking. So let's continue with what we've talked about. God made our bodies to move. We are made to move and not to be idle. That means if we don't utilize or exercise our body and our mind, we lose it. It starts disintegrating. Have you heard of the saying, use it or lose it? Yes, that applies to this one. In fact, study shows that if we don't use our brain cells, they die. So I know it sounds very sad, but that really what happens. And also the muscles and the brain cells goes into a process called atrophy. So they slowly die because it's not being used. So in a way, if you really think about it, God is so amazing that He allows us to have these muscles and brain cells that we can utilize for us to function well. But with a caveat, we have to use it. It's given to us, so we need to utilize and use it properly. Mental activity changes the physical structure of our brain, and this has been proven through MRI. If you're not familiar with MRI, it's magnetic resonance imaging, where they look at the activities of the brain. A study conducted among the taxi drivers in London found out that taxi drivers who use their brain extensively and heavy daily, as they do these routes, as they drive through difficult routes everywhere, especially city taxi drivers, they have a bigger hippocampal volume. So hippocampal volume, that's the part of your brain that is in charge or involved with memory and learning. And it's also true not just with taxi drivers, but with musicians and other species as well, like birds. So they found out that birds, they're able to go back to where they hid their food and where they store their food, and they have a bigger area. That area of the brain is bigger. So in other words, if your brain is exercised, if you use that particular area of brain every day, especially, then it enhances the memory retention power of the brain and also its capacity to absorb new information. So what are the ways you can exercise your brain? As you go through this Wellness Revival series, we will go deeper into it. But for now, I will give you a few things that you probably already know or heard of, different exercises that you could use to improve your mental capacity and improve your mind. So one of those is reading. So activities that are productive, activities that encourages you to think, and activities that are meaningful that will improve the brain. So I'm just going to tell you something. One thing that will not improve your brain activity, watching TV and doing nothing and without thinking, does not improve your mental capacity. So that's just one thing that will not improve. So instead of talking about what will not improve your mental capacity, let's talk about what you can do. Reading classics or reading the Bible, memorizing verses, memorizing poems, learning music, learning languages, solving puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, or learning how to pronounce, learning how to read, or learning things aloud, or every morning, something that you can do daily. So those are the activities, not limited to, there are a lot out there, but those are the most common ones that you can get started this week to help you improve your mind and increase the size of your hippocampus. In other words, choose activities that are meaningful endeavors that help you think, that helps you to use your brain, not the ones that makes you idle and makes you think of nothing. While it is important to use our brain daily to exercise our mind, it is also important more than anything else to feed our brain with the right kind of food or right kind of fuel. So these are the food that is good for the brain. And what food are those? So those are the food that is low in sugar or low in glycemic index, food that are higher in fiber. And study also shows that eating breakfast helps your brain. Not just any kind of breakfast, but breakfasts that are low in glycemic index. So in simple terms, breakfasts that are low in sugar, high in fiber, and vitamins. So if you compare cereal with high in sugar, then those are not the kind of foods for your brain. So if you are going to eat oatmeal, make sure you eat the type of oatmeal that are more whole. So really, it's easier to think that the less processed the food is, those are the type of food that is better for your brain. So if you compare, let's just say blueberry ice cream. So blueberry ice cream is inferior. Yes, while it contains sugar and calories and probably energy that will help you awake, but the real blueberry fruit is better than the processed one, which is blueberry ice cream or blueberry Pop-Tarts. You can find a whole list of food that are good for your brain and a whole list of food that are low glycemic index, but remember the basic principle. Eat the food that is closer to how God made it. So if you eat the food in its original form, the better, as much as you can. This is not to say that you are not allowed to eat processed food. And yes, sometimes it happens, right? When you're busy, then you just eat the food, whatever is available. But keep this basic principle in mind. The more you can access a food that is in its whole form or the food that is closer how God made it, the better. Now, let's talk about physical activity. Regular physical activity or regular daily exercise promotes cardiorespiratory endurance, muscular strength, endurance, and muscular flexibility. So it also promotes good quality of life and longevity if you do regular exercise. So what kind of exercise do you really do? Well, this question is very loaded, so let's break it down. It depends. The answer is it depends. It depends on your circumstances, your ability, your type of activity that you can do within the limits of what you are allowed to do. Because sometimes, you might have physical conditions and you're not allowed to do certain things. But the recommendation is every day you do 30 minutes to an hour of activity. And one of the best physical activity that is recommended is walking. So why? Because walking is it's a very stable form of exercise and is also a cardio. Not just any type of walking, friends, preferably walking outside where you can see trees, where you can see wildlife. Oh no, not necessarily super wildlife, but you know what I mean. Outside in the midst of nature where you can see trees, flowers, and nature, so to speak, because it will also exercise not just your body, but also your mind. So I hope this topic today is very helpful to you as we go through, as I mentioned, through our wellness revival. We are gonna dedicate specific topic to exercise and exercise demos, but for now, the basic information will help you. So what I would like to encourage you this week is make a commitment to be fit. Set aside a daily time where you could exercise your mind and also your body. So let's recap what we had talked about. So mind exercise, brain exercises such as reading, studying the Bible, memorizing vocabulary, learning languages, solving puzzles, anything that is meaningful and requires you to think. And physical exercises, there's a lot according to what you are allowed to do, right? As we have mentioned. And if you can walk, yes, it would be the best. And if you are allowed, or if you can, do a brisk walk or hiking or outside. So pretty much the basic principle of the physical activity is what you can and what you enjoy doing. That will help you to move your muscles, right? So until next time, I hope this is helpful to you as we continue this Wellness Revival series. Bye.